Everybody, happy Thursday. I hope everybody's week has been going well. I'm very excited that, hey Jen, that tomorrow is Friday. Hey Mac, you changed your avatar pic again? Hey Pookie. So definitely happy tomorrow is Friday, because even though I had Monday off, it felt like a very long week. So I wanted to come live really quickly today because the lawyer for the victims' families of the Swan Boat Club tragedy did a media press conference. So we are going to watch that. And also the defendant, Miss Chidester, appeared via Zoom in court on the 30th, which was Tuesday. The lawyer's presser was yesterday. And then I just have a final video we'll watch that kind of summarizes everything that's happened. Got it. All right, so we are going to get started. And so the first video again is the defendant in this case, hey Road Rash, Miss Chidester, is accused of driving drunk into a building, and 2 children, ages 8 and 4, were killed, several others injured, including the mom and older brother of said siblings who lost their lives.
But first, the woman accused in that boat club tragedy that claimed the lives of 2 children facing a judge today. Thank you for joining us today at 5. I'm Glenda Lewis.
And I'm Brian Abel. Marcella Chittister of Newport appeared remotely in Monroe County Court.
Yeah, the 66-year-old is accused of driving drunk, crashed through the wall of the Swan Boat Club in Berlin Township earlier this month during a child's birthday party.
7 News Detroit reporter Kimberly Craig starts us off with the...
And you can see in that surveillance, so at one point I had said that kind of looks sped up, but she was moving at a pretty good clip when she was driving toward that building.
Painful process ahead for countless people seeking justice.
Marcella Chittister is out on bond, so for Tuesday's hearing, she and her attorney appeared via Zoom. At the same time, a lawsuit has been amended to include additional victims and the boat club.
I may be calling 2 witnesses.
And those witnesses that Marcella Chittister's defense attorney plans to call to the stand for her preliminary exam are 2 police officers. This new cell phone video shows children playing outside the Swan Boat Club when Chittister...
And so I'm going to just back that up a little bit because, again, this is new surveillance that we haven't seen before. And so this is not sped up. You can see, these 2 kids and an adult playing basketball, and she just comes speeding on by.
This new cell phone video shows children playing outside the Swan Boat Club when Chittister's Ford Edge blew past them, crashing into the building where a children's birthday party was taking place. 7 News has obtained this new image.
And so she was moving pretty fast. So it's my belief now that the surveillance videos that we thought were perhaps sped up actually weren't sped up. That was how fast she was going.
Of Chittister as she was being helped out of her crashed vehicle. The person who took it said they wanted to document who was behind the wheel.
Me and my family still can't believe this tragedy. We honestly still can't believe that she's still free.
8-year-old Alana Phillips and her 4-year-old brother Zane were attending the birthday party at the boat club when they were killed in the crash. Their mother and older brother, along with several others, were injured. And today, a lawsuit in the case has been amended to include those other victims who survived. Several other defendants have also been added to the.
So that was interesting as well, because initially it was the mom of those two siblings who were killed in this incident. However, the civil complaint has been amended to include additional victims as well as additional defendants.
Lawsuit, including the boat club. Attorney John Marco accusing the boat club of negligently constructing and maintaining the building without a guardrail, cement pole, or other safety devices designed to stop a vehicle from crashing through the building. But it's Chittister who is facing multiple charges, including second-degree murder for allegedly being drunk behind the wheel.
She is a danger to this community, and that is illustrated no clearer than the two dead children that she is directly responsible for.
Chittister and her attorney blame the crash on a medical condition, claiming she had a seizure.
We'll never get to go take our babies to do anything. No holiday get-togethers, no going to the park, no more nothing.
Don't drink and drive. 2 innocent lives was just taken for no reason.
Chittister is out on bond and expected to be back in court in June for a preliminary exam when a judge will decide if there's enough evidence to order her to stand trial. In Monroe, Kimberly Craig, 7 News, Detroit.
In this matter.
So she will not be going back to court until June, at which time the judge will decide whether or not there's enough evidence for her to stand trial. I obviously am not a legal professional or a judge. However, based on the surveillance, I would think based on witness statements, based on the deaths that occurred, blood test that was done, etc., it's my opinion there's enough evidence for her to stand trial. However, I also believe, just as I believe it was one of the relatives, and Mr. Hatfield, that's all I remember. I don't remember his first name, but when the family held the vigil, I think it was the brother of the dad of the older kid who's in critical condition, said that this they keep saying Chittister. I'm saying Chittister. Miss Chittister has connections and money. And they didn't mention how much her bond was, but she posted a $1.5 million bond. So that's a pretty significant amount that she posted in order to be free, be at home. So this next video is the presser that the law firm held in regards to the lawsuit being brought forward. And one thing I do want to say is that they are going to release photos of the aftermath. And I don't know for sure because I didn't zoom in or inspect it closely, but I believe one of the photos does have a victim lying on the ground. So not the children, but someone who was injured in this incident, because you can also see emergency responders also working on other people out of frame. So just as a little disclaimer there, again, I don't know for sure if it is a person. However, to me, it looked like someone in a fetal position. So just disclaimer, viewer discretion advised. Oh, good point, Pookie. My guess is they put the house up for the bond. And I'm curious to know, I mean, I guess I could, go to Google Maps and just look at the neighborhood and kind of see what her house kind of looked like. Because for those of you who may not have known, Miss Chittister lived only 100 yards away from the boat club.
Which is probably the worst destruction of family units in a case that I've had that I can ever recall. Because the damage done to the families and the victims in this case is, and Monroe County as a whole, is going to reverberate beyond our years, beyond my time on this earth, into the future. Because I can tell you right now, and Mr. Jones is going to speak to some of this without revealing protected medical information, that the individuals involved in this incident who have survived, who were able to make it out alive, are going to be scarred for the rest of their lives. And many, if not all, are going to need therapy. They're going to be suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. It was described as a war zone.
And I will say that seeing the photos, I would agree with that. I would even use the word pandemonium. Just complete chaos. It's like there wasn't even a party there. And again, this was a children's birthday party that they were celebrating. And the only remnants of being any type of festivity were a few balloons that had survived. So definitely a really, really sad situation.
The Swan Boat Club, when Miss Chidester's car crashed in, one common theme that I can share with you that independently each of my clients has described that was able to speak about this incident is they originally thought that a bomb had been planted and blew up, that this was some type of terrorist attack at the Swan Boat Club because of the force that was that this car, when it blew through the facility and caused all this destruction, that they thought a bomb went off and then it was a terrorist attack. And many, without getting into the specifics of what individuals, many of the people there suffered post-concussive syndrome and a head injury as a result of the crashing into and the shock waves that where they were diagnosed by medical professionals with what's called post-concussive syndrome, which is a type of brain injury. And they're suffering from the effects of that, which include headaches, nausea, and we don't know exactly the extent right now. It's too early to tell for a lot of these individuals. But we're talking about very, very serious type injuries.
And I agree with him, especially with the post-traumatic stress, because just remembering the sister of the mom who is now in critical condition, hearing her words that she had to see what had happened. She had to see her niece and nephew who weren't going to make it out alive. Just those who did survive, who experienced that terror, I cannot imagine what they're going through
in this case. So I'd like to share with you some exclusive photos that I do not believe.
So again, this is where he is going to show photos. Again, there is nothing graphic. However, I believe it's the first photo he shows. It does look like there is a person in a fetal position, but again, I didn't inspect it close enough to determine whether it was or not. But just know that it may be triggering for some.
Our public yet, but that we are able to share as part of the investigation that we undertook. And excuse me, can I have my office allow screen share for me? It says I'm not allowed to share my screen. So these are photos from inside of the Swan Boat Club that were taken contemporaneously that I'm able to share with you.
And so you can see in this photo, you can't even tell that there was any festivities going on. You can see the opening here. This is where she drove into the building, just to the left, and she ended up to the left. So she went through the building and ended up to the left, where it did look like, based on the photo that it had showed in the earlier clip that we saw, where she was coming out of the vehicle, that she had nearly gone through a second wall, but it appeared she got wedged between the end of the bar and another alcove type area. Here's the one that I was thinking of. This is a little bit more close up. So you can see that the only reason she stopped, in my opinion, of course, because I don't know for sure why she stopped, but it looks like she was wedged between this part of the wall and then the bar is just on the other side of her vehicle. But I mean, that's some pretty forceful impact right there. Road rash, I don't know for sure, but it's my opinion that she did not hit the brakes. Because it's my opinion that if you knew that you were going to hit a building, you would slam those brakes. You would try almost where, you broke the brake pedal to stop. But again, for those who may not know, her lawyer is contesting that she was not drunk, that she only had one glass of wine 4 hours prior to this incident, and that she suffered an epileptic-like seizure in her legs, which caused her to, quote, black out. So I have a lot of questions. I'm sure others have a lot of questions. And one thing I just noticed, and again, this is just an observation, but there's like this dark colored stain on the ceiling, because you can see how several ceiling tiles have also been jarred and are messed up. This almost looks like when she came through that wall that she hit possibly a buffet table or somewhere where there was food, which splattered onto the ceiling, because you can also see a little bit more here, but there's like this big stain right where my mouse is circulating. I didn't notice that before. Although it could also be, just fragments from when she plowed through the wall and, just some damage occurred. But, I mean, you can't even tell you can just tell in this little corner in the back, there was a party happening. Everything else is completely destroyed. Ash, well, and I don't know if that's been stated as fact. I have heard that rumor that she was aiming for her husband, but I haven't confirmed that. Yeah, I agree, Sinner. This was not a medical accident. I don't believe so, not for 1 minute. Does epileptic type seizures in the leg have a medical name for the condition? That has not been stated as far as I remember. The defense attorney only said that it was epileptic-like seizures where her legs seized, and that she had been treated for them back in November, and she had been, quote, cleared. No, let me rephrase. That's not what he said. He said she was not told she couldn't drive. That's what he said. She wasn't told she couldn't drive. So almost like they're now blaming the medical professionals for not explicitly telling her don't drive, which I find hard to believe. And the defense attorney also stated that she was on, quote, numerous medications, end quote, or a substantial amount. We might have to watch at some point, watch the first appearance again, because the defense attorney said quite a lot of things that were, now that I think back, it's like maybe he talked too much. The same stain looks like on the bottom of that table. This table here? Oh, right here. Yeah, it's just, complete destruction. And it's interesting that, let me just go back. I think it was this photo. Yes. So, again, this is just an opinion. But because Ashtastic had mentioned aiming for a certain spot, I thought it interesting that the video we saw showed her going pretty much straight into the building. When I saw these photos, especially this one, or I don't think it was this one. Where was the one that showed the opening a lot better? Here. So the opening was kind of where this woman is standing, because you can see kind of the light coming through. However, her car, again, in my opinion, went left. And it was, oh, and I think I went too far. I did. Whereas here, again, she didn't, it appeared, and again, we didn't see a head-on surveillance of her going into the building, but based on the after photos of the outside, it appeared she went straight through that panel, but then somehow veered left. I don't know. I don't do a speculation a lot. However, based on what I'm observing, it appears that she did not go straight into the building. She veered at some point. That's a good way to put it, Pookie. She conveniently ended up that way. And I believe this is her. Maybe not. It does kind of look like her sitting here, but I'm not sure. And here you can see like the little party favors, just, you know, people having a great time. And right, so here you can see this is the opening. So on the other side of that table, the opening is here. So this is where she would have come through, but then her car ended up over here. Whereas if you came in straight, you'd think you would go over here. Sinner, according to her lawyer, she's never had a traffic ticket before. Oh, Cocoa Puff, that's a good point to see her phone records. And I'm curious as well, what her husband would say in all of this. Oh, and here's some of the ceiling tiles ended up on the ground. I mean, the force, she was going fast. And I really hope that this car had, you know, something that could tell how fast she was going when she made impact. It also, I believe this is a wheel. Maybe not, but this looked like a wheel, but maybe not. It could have just been, I'm not sure what all of this is. There's like a toy bat, something else here. Wood. It looks like a bunch of wood. But just, I mean, it's a really weird angle to end up in.
I'm happy to share these photos
Hey,
via
Harsh.
email or some other method related to this case. Please contact my office and we'll be happy to do that. So what are we trying to do here? I talked about getting the family immediate help. I've talked about holding those accountable. I've talked about trying to gather evidence to make sure that those responsible are held and subjected to justice in our courts, because that's all that we have. That's all that we can do as a society. That's our system of justice. And in this case, as you know, there's going to be a criminal proceedings. There's also going to be civil proceedings. Both have a different purpose and both are very important to our clients and to the community at large. You know, that said, this, as you can see from these photos, it does look like a bomb went off. If I showed these photos to you without any context,
Yeah, he's right.
and you saw the devastation and the wreckage that we have in those, it looks like a bomb went off. And it's a horrible, completely indescribable, the level of pain, suffering, and the tragedy that's been wreaked on the victims who were there, their families at large, and Monroe County in general, and the whole state. I mean, it is a true tragedy that words cannot do justice to. We will work as hard as we can to get justice for the family. Mr. Jones is going to speak to you on behalf of the family. I know that many of you want to hear from the victims. When they are ready, they will speak. I promise we're going to set that up. But some of them can't even get into a car right now.
Yeah.
Because they are so traumatized from what happened. They can't leave their house. So we do ask for respect from the media. Please, with regard to anyone that my office represents, please direct any contact or communications through us. We can't release medical information at this time other than generalities that I've discussed. Mr. Jones, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, at the time, as Mr. Markle said, the family just is requesting some privacy. They feel like there's been some misinformation. They just need some time to heal, as you can imagine, from these wounds. The injuries are severe. We will not go into details about what they are. They are getting the care that they need, but they just ask for continued prayers And at this time, just please, if you have any questions, direct those to our office, and we'll be happy to share any information that they are willing to share with you at that time.
Thank you, Michael. As well as any additional information, we thank the public who've been providing tips and support to the family and the victims in the form of additional information, which has ultimately led to us being able to amend our complaint. And as information continues to come in, we expect that the additional people are going to be added on both sides of the complaint in this regard. So with that said, I will take brief questions if anybody has questions, but I'm not going to talk about protected health information. And just very brief questions if anybody has any questions for me.
Hi, Mr. Marco. Kim Craig, Channel 7.
Hi,
Can you
Kim.
talk? Hi there. Can you talk about the what duty did the Swan Boat Club that you believe had to have barriers? You know, we've all seen a lot of stores that do have these barriers outside, but they're not on a major road. They're not in an intersection. They're at the end of a dirt road. What duty? Is there any sort of legal duty that you believe that they did have?
Yeah, so any premises owner has a legal duty to keep their property in safe condition and safe repair. Now, that's most commonly seen, if you have an uneven walkway or something and somebody trips or falls on it. But based on our investigation and what we've seen, this was a dangerous setup out at the Swan Boat Club, given the proximity of the facility to the road. I don't care if it's a dirt road or a cement road or a super highway. There's cars and there's people traveling back there. As you know, people live back there, including the defendant in this case.
And one question that came to mind, and I will look this up, but I had wondered how long Swan Boat Club had been in operation. So how long has this establishment been there? And how many incidents, such as someone driving their car into the building, happened? Because, like the reporter asked, it's at the end of a dirt road. There was a speed bump, I believe, in one of the earlier videos we watched. They did say there was some kind of speed barrier. And she lived 100 yards from that club. So it would be my opinion that people don't speed down that dirt road and then drive into a building. So that's the only thing that I was kind of questioning with this lawsuit or this complaint is I don't necessarily believe that the boat club itself is at fault. And that's why I want to know, how long has it been there? Has anything like this happened there before? Maybe just someone ran into the building with their car, not necessarily drove into the building. I don't necessarily think that, in my opinion, that they're at fault.
So there's vehicles traveling on this. If you're going to put a building directly in proximity to a road like that, there has to be some type of protection or basic construction. Also, these buildings are subject to building codes. Okay, this is a building code which is set by the city, by the state, for making sure that our buildings are safe, because our buildings are designed differently than they were 100 years ago. And these building codes are imposed to protect the public, to protect tenants, to protect people who are involved. If you look at the damage, and by the way, look at, in addition to that, just look at the pictures of the way that this building was set up. It looks like it was made by some Boy Scouts as part of some type of club, Boy Scout club project, merit badge project.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back. I have the timestamp. So if we go back to the photos, because he's saying that it appears to be somewhat of a Boy Scout project. Oops, that's not the one I wanted. This is the one I wanted. So it's hard to tell because this panel is kind of, and actually, you know what? Let me go real quick. Because there was one photo from the outside. Okay, so this is, it's still hard to tell, but it does look, it almost does appear like the walls were pretty thin. But again, this is somewhat of a hard angle to really see. Let me see if I zoom in. I mean, this is the outside wall. This is the inside wall. It's kind of weird because there's like a it's almost like there was a panel here, and then here it looks like there was a panel. Like, was there possibly a door there before or an entrance and they just covered it up? I don't know. To me, it does appear like the walls are kind of thin, but again, I'm not an engineer. I am not skilled in that. So then if we go back to this photo, again, it would be interesting. I'm going to have to see if I can find photos of the inside of the Swan Club before this happened. Oh, it was originally a cluster of sheds. Interesting. Really interesting.
Hi, quick question. This is Andrea from the Detroit Free Press. In your own investigation, you know, have you come across any evidence that would counter Chidester's attorney, Bill Kolobos, who says, you know, that she only had one glass of wine that day and suffered a medical issue that caused the crash?
Yes, but I cannot get into the specifics right now. You know, and guys, look, I want to tell as much and be open as transparent as possible, but I can't do that without in any way that I believe could jeopardize my clients' wishes, confidences from informed people who are providing information confidentially, or do anything to jeopardize the police or prosecutor's investigation, which is ongoing. So yes, but I can't be more specific than that, Andrew. I'm sorry.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, and I did find, as he was speaking, I did find on the Swan Boat Club's website, they had a bunch of photos. And this is an image of, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So here is where the party was being held. So you can see that across from where Miss Chidester went in, there's actually what appear to be garage doors. Here's the bar just behind these people. And this is where Miss Chidester's car ended up, which is a doorway. So I had thought there was, she somehow got wedged between the bar and what I thought was an alcove, but here it appears to have been a doorway. So this is an image of what the inside, and then here's just a couple more. Can I make these bigger? So here's, oh, and there's the there's two speakers. So based on the images, it's between these two speakers that Miss Chidester, this is where she drove in from, was over here. Because in the one picture that the lawyer showed, there was a speaker on either side of the hole. So she came in around this area and ended up over there, wedged in that doorway. Oops. All right, let's see. Let's see if there's, okay, so that's just a photo of the bar. Okay, and that's going outside. That's another, okay, so here's a closer, here's the end of the bar, and then here's that doorway. All right, so that kind of gives a better sense of what it looked like prior. It's been used as a dock since 1870. Wow. Robert Paget, a local entrepreneur, first set up shop there. Wow. So it's been there quite a while.
Thank you. We will be, and I wish I could give you guys a date certain, but you know, this is a devastating incident. We need time for the victims to heal. At the appropriate time through my office, we will be holding, and what we'd like to do is have y'all live, and we can go down to Monroe together, and we can talk about this, but it's too raw right now for the clients who are just trying to mend their wounds. But I promise you, at the appropriate time, we will have an in-person press conference. You'll be able to hear directly. We're not going to do anything, as I've said 10 times, to compromise the investigation or the police, and making sure that the criminal investigation can play out. But I promise you, there's going to be some very interesting new details that are going to be coming out in the coming week and weeks here. So thank you, everybody. If you need the photos, we're happy to produce those. I am happy to produce those. You can contact my office. Thank you.
Okay, and the last video I have is just a summary of kind of, they talk a little bit about the press conference that the lawyers held, and they have, they have closer images. So you can actually see here. So now that before I had said between the speakers, she actually took out one of the speakers, because here's the one speaker that was in that photo. So let me go back to, now I need to find, I hit the back arrow by accident. Oh, here it is. Okay, so if I go back to that one picture, if I can find it. Oh, I went too far. Where the heck is it? All right, give me just a second here. Oh, here we go. Here it is. So if we go back to this photo, this shows the room. Here is the speaker in that photo that's remaining. This far speaker. This speaker I did not see in that photo, which would tell me that she came in and closer to this speaker, which took it completely out. And then there's the, I wish I could do a side by side, but unfortunately I cannot, that I know of. And it would appear, oops. that the other speaker would have been somewhat in about the area that this balloon is.
First look at the aftermath inside that Swan Boat Club following that deadly crash. And that includes this photo here, which gives a wide perspective of some of the aftermath. You see the hole that's right over here, the SUV that's right here. You got people in the middle, and even have.
And this actually, their photo here, you can see. So she entered here. Unless she came in at an angle, I mean, that's a pretty sharp angle to come in as. And based on the video surveillance, she hit it straight on. She hit it head on. I mean, it's just very precarious to me. Very precarious.
Have some party decorations that were here on the ceiling. Attorney John Marco says he's describes it as a bomb going off. And you have to remember, this was a kid's birthday party. And for the survivors, this is a day that will haunt them forever. Looking at pictures from inside the Swan Boat Club, it's as if time stood still after an horrific tragedy. An SUV leaves a trail of debris, chairs, and party favors. First responders rush to help, and a woman wearing a green hoodie sits in awe of this life-changing moment. This collection of images shared by attorney John Marco.
Okay, so this one actually, this photo, this must have been one of the really small photos, so the news blew it up. So you can see this is where she came into the building and she ended up over here. So I still hold the opinion that when she hit the building, she veered left. Again, that's just my opinion. I just find it very suspicious.
On behalf of his...
Because looking at this photo again, if she had gone straight, she would have gone through these garage doors and ended up most likely in the water, or at least somewhere else. But maybe these doors may have, well, I don't know. I feel like the bar, being wedged between the bar, end of the bar, and this door is what actually stopped her car. I don't think she stopped her car at all.
Clients show what happened after investigators say Marcella Chidester barreled through a wall of the building last month. Police say that she was driving drunk when she hit and killed 2 young kids and injured several others at a child's birthday party.
The damage done to the families and the victims in this case is, and Monroe County as a whole, is going to reverberate beyond our years, beyond my time on this earth.
On Wednesday, Marco announced additional victims are added to his current lawsuit against Chidester, her insurance company, Verna's Tavern, which served Chidester alcohol, and now the Swan Boat Club.
Oh, okay. So I missed the part that her insurance company was also added to the lawsuit. I missed that. I had thought it was only Miss Chidester herself, the tavern she was at before this happened, and the boat club. But they also put her insurance company, which makes sense because they insured her.
We intend to hold Swan Boat Club responsible in part for the damage that was caused based on the way that this facility was set up, the construction of the facility, the lack of any safety precautions whatsoever. But based on our investigation and what we've seen, this was a dangerous setup out at the Swan Boat Club, given the proximity of the facility to the road.
Marco says filing a lawsuit will help pay for medical expenses of the survivors, and that includes getting physical and psychiatric therapy.
We believed, Marco Law here at my firm, that we needed to act quickly on behalf of these victims, and there's several reasons for that. Number one, a lot of these victims need medical care.
On April 20th, investigators say Marcella Chidester drank at Verna's Tavern and then left in her SUV. Video then shows what appears to be Chidester speeding down.
Like that? Okay, so let me just back up because I was looking at Chat Quick and then I looked up and just saw her car like blazing by. Cocoa Puff, none of those at the party have said she seemed drunk. I know the sheriff initially had said she was cooperative at the scene. However, the prosecution has said that an initial breath test had her significantly above the legal limit. Road Rash, good question. She actually worked there as a commandor. So she's been there very often.
And then left in her SUV. Video then shows what appears to be Chichester speeding down a dirt road.
And here, this appears to me, again, maybe she did try to stop, and that's why she veered to the left. But this appears that she is going straight into the building, not in an angle. But again, we can't see that, few feet that remain.
Before crashing into the Swan Boat Club. The impact killed 8-year-old Lana Phillips and her 5-year-old brother Zane. Attorney John Marco shared a photo which a victim says shows Chichester in a star-spangled hoodie.
Oh, so that was her. So I had thought that was her, but then wasn't sure. So this is her at the scene. So actually, I have another question now that I'm thinking about it, because if her leg had seized, benefit of the doubt, she was having a medical episode, her legs had seized, she wasn't able to stop the car. How was she immediately able to get out of the car without her legs still in that medical episode? And again, I don't know how long had passed between the time she stopped and she got out of the car, but I would think it was, if you're having some type of medical episode where your legs are seizing, especially for several minutes prior to actually getting to the boat club, I would assume it just automatically stopped seizing and you were able to get out of the car without an issue. That's a question I have.
Seated amongst the chaos. Witnesses say that she tried to get away. Michael.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. I hadn't watched this clip before going live because I saw it just before I came live. So that actually has, kind of goes along, not necessarily with what Cocoa Puff had asked about her seeming drunk, but it appears that some witnesses said, when she was helped out of her car, she tried to get away. Well, if you blacked out and didn't realize what happened, why would you try to get away? I mean, and in that one photo, this photo, and again, we can't see her face, but just based on, looking at it at face value, she does appear somewhat catatonic to me. Again, that's just going by this angle. She may not seem that way, if looking at her from the front, but she does seem catatonic to me.
Witnesses say that she tried to get away. Michael Jones spoke on behalf of the victims.
They just need some time to heal, as you can imagine, from these wounds. The injuries are severe. We will not go into details about what they are. They are getting the care that they need, but they just ask for continued prayers.
And Marcella Chichester's attorney did say in court that she only had one glass of wine and then had a medical emergency while behind the wheel. I also called the Swan Boat Club about this lawsuit. Someone from the club picked up, they answered, and they said they do not have a comment at this time.
Okay, so nope, we're not watching Dr. Phil. Nope, no Dr. Phil tonight. I'm not sure why Dr. Phil was the next video that popped up, but yeah, Cocoa Puff How could she just be sitting there after just doing that? And again, it could be shock. I mean, maybe she did black out. However, I don't believe it was because of a medical episode. I believe it was because she was under the influence, as stated by the prosecution and, you know, test given shortly after. Yeah, while taking meds. Ugh, going back to Johnny Depp, Mega Pint. Sometimes seizures are a result from drinking while on certain meds. She knew better. This is devastating. I agree, it is devastating. And the other thing that really sticks out to me is when the defense attorney had said at the first appearance that she had been treated for the seizures that day. The day that this happened, the day that she allegedly only had one glass of wine and a bowl of soup 4 hours prior to this incident. So if she had been treated for this that day, why was she driving? Knowing that it could happen again. So again, there's just a lot of questions, and, you know, I keep saying, like, this did not have to happen. She could have walked to the boat club. Right? She could have went home. Why did she drive, I believe, you know, at a pretty fast speed, definitely over the speed limit for a dirt road at a dead end? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Not at all. And so we won't see anything until June. And that brings me to summer break. So if she does go to trial, and it is televised, this is a trial that I will definitely follow, because it's my opinion that she needs to be held accountable for what she did, regardless of if it was a medical condition or deliberate. She took 2 little kids' lives and she injured 15 others. At least 2 of them critically. So she definitely needs to have some type of consequence. And I truly hope that her connections and money, as alleged by the victim's family, don't prevent that from happening. So with that being said, I am going to say goodnight. So the kittens, by the time I got home from work yesterday, 4 of the kittens had escaped their enclosure. I had put these panels up around the crate with the crate door open so they'd have more room to run. And also so Mama could get out and just have some reprieve from the babies. But somehow, well, it's my fault. I had the litter box against the panels. They figured out, oh, we'll stand on the litter box and we're just tall enough where we can, like, just fall over the side of the panel. So I had 4 kittens who had escaped, only 2 in their enclosure. And then I said, well, I want to get the other kittens in. So I opened one of the panels so they could come back in. Yeah, the other 2 escaped as well. So I had 6 kittens running around, nobody in the enclosure. So last night I broke down the entire enclosure, the crate. So now they have the entire bedroom. Well, most of the bedroom. A quarter of it is storage. Yeah, they are super cute. I'll have to post some photos. The 2 that I was able to get, because they were, they were still in the enclosure when I got home from work. They're both little girls, and one of them I named Dino Kitty because she reminds me of a triceratops. And the other one I named Teardrop because she has a teardrop shape on her nose. And she's the one who she'll hiss at me, but she lets me hold her and love her. So she's super cute. So I'll post pictures of Dino Kitty and Teardrop because I was able to get pictures of them yesterday. But the other ones are still just like running around. They run from me when I go in the room. So I'm going to go hang out with them for a little while. And don't forget that AMAC is having Friends Trivia tonight at 9 p.m. All of you should be directed to her live after mine. And I'm not planning on going live tomorrow, but it all depends on what type of stories happen. I saw one today that I posted a short on where in Wisconsin, there was a 14-year-old boy. Someone called 911 to report someone with what appeared to be a weapon outside of a school. Turns out there was a 14-year-old boy outside the school with a rifle, and police engaged with the suspect, and the only victim in this situation, and I hate to use the word victim because those kids were in fear for their lives, the kids in that school. The only person who lost their life in this incident was the suspect himself. However, police would not, or not police didn't do a press conference yet. The school district would not comment whether there was gun exchange between the police and the suspect, or if the suspect had been able to get into the school at some point. But one of the reporters had said that the police were wearing body cameras. So everything will be obviously recorded as to what happened. But so I did post a short on that. It's only about 35 seconds if you want to check it out. And again, that was in Wisconsin yesterday. All right, so I hope I see you all at Amex, but if not, I hope you have a great rest of your night. And until next time, I will see you all on the flip side.